talk about the Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 5, Return of the Mandalorian. Now, we didn't get no Boba Fett this week, and I didn't expect that. I expected, first off, this is like the perfect first episode for Mandalorian Season 3. Like, it was like the perfect return to one of my new favorite characters in Star Wars of all time, Din himself, the Mandalorian. And this felt like a perfect first episode for Season 3 of The Mandalorian, getting us back into here. We don't even see Boba Fett in this entire episode. In fact, Fennec doesn't even show up to the last 5 minutes, which we'll talk about. But I'm so freaking excited. There's so many different things that happen in this episode. And it just makes me want to have Mandalorian Season 3, like, right now. Like, I'm enjoying Boba Fett for what it is, but, like, I just want to scream to the high heavens. It's super late right now. It's me recording this. I'm sure a lot of you guys are maybe feeling the exact same way. So this is, again, the perfect place for all of that. Make sure, guys, to hit that like and subscribe button if you know what the way is, if the Force is with you, as well as leave a comment on what your guys' theories next week will be. I'm pretty sure we all know one thing that's definitely going to be happening, but as well, guys, make sure to also just leave your guys' thoughts, your commentary. That's one of my favorite things, is replying back to your guys' reactions to the episode. So, it's time to talk about this episode. So, of course, after last week, we knew Din was coming back this week, but I didn't know in what capacity he was going to. And for me, all my theories I had about this episode kind of went out the door pretty early on as I started to learn, okay, this is very much going to be a Din story. It's less of the Book of Boba Fett. It's more of, hey, this is that weird off, like when you read a comic and sometimes they have those like weird off cycles in there for a couple pages, like this is what that kind of felt like, but in a good way. And I love this because first it shows him going in. He's going to that like meat freighter place, which like the tone and feeling of that was great, which shout out to director Bryce Howard. She is getting better and better with each and every directorial effort in Star Wars. You know, we had her in Season 1. She did a pretty good job. Season 2, she absolutely kicked ass with the Return of Bo-Katan. And then this episode is probably her best episode yet. And for me, it's my favorite episode of Book of Boba Fett. And I don't want to say it's because Boba Fett wasn't in it, but it really was my favorite episode that we've gotten. And it just gave me that same feeling I get when I watch Mandalorian. And going in throughout here, that opening scene was awesome, and the first thing I looked forward to, because I see the spear on his back, the first thing I wanted to see, though, was does he still have the Darksaber? And clearly he did. Whips it out in the middle of that fight, which was great. Great callback to the original first episode of Mandalorian when he goes, I can bring you warm, or I can bring you in cold. And just that's awesome. The way that he uses Darksaber, even though he's not training it yet, he actually ends up hurting himself in that fight, but it was awesome. And then when he just slices the dude in half, holy shit, like that was, again, the way. That is the way. This is the way. But it was cool because then when he goes to the bounty, gets paid, and then he goes, where's my information? They tell him the information. He goes, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, there's been rumors about him getting a new ship, which he does get in this episode. Is this going to be it? Is he locating someone else? Is Fennec going to show up? No. It's the armor, which the second he went down there and we saw the Mandalorian symbol, I'm like, okay, so we're getting the armor again. The armor is there, and then so is the heavy infantry Mandalorian, which is, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but his ancestors were the ones that actually created the Darksaber, which was really cool to see there because from my understanding, I don't think he got a name when we first met him in the first season of Mandalorian, but it's nice because we haven't seen him for an entire season. It was nice to see him back here. And, you know, just hearing how them talking and their discussion kind of catching up, her kind of giving a lot of exploration for what has happened on Mandalore, because between Mandalorian Season 2 and before that, we didn't know what had happened to Bo-Katan. We didn't know what happened to Mandalore, and here we find out why it is. And I know a lot of people were actually wondering, well, why does Bo-Katan have to fight for it this time? Didn't Sabine just give it to her? Well, that is a big element in there now. Now we see why she had to fight. The mythology, all those sorts of things. And I love the culture that they add into within Mandalorian. Just as each season we've dedicated to Din and his storyline, we have very much elevated that culture to such a high heaven. And I love it. And I also love the moment of when she's trying to train him. But one of my favorite things in here is when she asks for the spear. He pulls the spear out and he goes, crafted into armor. And she goes, anything specific? And he goes, for a little Grogu, which absolutely, like, I love Grogu. And I didn't think we were going to be seeing him this season. I knew we were going to see Din. I didn't expect to see him this season. And clearly at the end, which we'll talk about, we're going to see him, which it makes me assume we're going to see Luke Skywalker next episode, which is going to fucking flip me out. I also have theories on that too, which we'll talk about in a second, but that was just great. I wonder what she crafted. I have a couple thoughts. I do think it's probably just little bits of armor. He is tiny, so I wouldn't imagine that she'd really need that many pieces. I also want to give a shot. I wouldn't be surprised if she crafted like a lightsaber holder and then he just has to put a kyber crystal in there. I wouldn't be shocked. Just saying, that's like my little indicator to it, but I do think it's just like little armor pieces, which got me excited. Because if we get little Grogu in Mandalorian armor, I'm gonna flip the fuck out. Like, I'm already flipping out now, but I'm gonna flip the fuck out. And she ties a little knot, and it looks just like him with his ears and his head. It was so cute. But adding in here, in his whole journey in here, Heavy Infiltrator, the other Mandalorian, wants to fight. It's his honor, his right. They have this duel, which was awesome, and Din almost lost, but comes back, stab, stab, stabby, stab, and pretty much she goes, have you ever taken your mask off? No. Have you? And he holds back, and she says, you're banished. You're an apostle. And at that point in time, he loses a sense of who he is. And it was very heartbreaking because we know how much that means to Din. He can't lie. He can't. They are the ones that raised him in this culture. And, you know, he betrayed his culture to save Grogu. And I think that just goes to me and how important Grogu is to him. And of course, when he gets on he's going back, he gets on the like transporter ship, which for a second at a certain angle, I actually thought it was a Millennium Falcon when it was like coming on the overview. Then we got closer. I was like, I'm just getting too crazy at this point with what ships we're going to see. And the robot tells him to take off all the weapons, which was a funny moment, like him taking off all the different weapons that he has, gets on the freighter, and now, of course, he sees the little Greedo. I can't remember the alien species name. I'm sure someone will correct me down below in the comment section. And it was cute, you know, and I think that just kind of resembles back that he misses Grogu. And, you know, once he gets to Tatooine, where's he going to go? Well, he goes to see Grogu's favorite little babysitter. And, you know, it was fun seeing her. Like, the first time I ever saw her, she kind of was annoying because she was in the worst episode of Mandalorian. But then it just got better and better from there, every interaction. And he goes, do you find a new Razor Crest? No, but I found you a replacement. And this is where I almost sobbed to tears. As a giant Star Wars fan, as someone who grew up with the prequels, like I grew up with the original trilogy, but like the prequels were the films that I got to see in theaters for the first time. And I'm showing my age now with that. And I'm sure some of you guys who are older are like, oh my God, like I look young. I get it. The Naboo fighter ships or starfighter ships are some of my favorite fighter ships of any ship of any Star Wars, Star Trek, whatever you want to say it. Those are my favorite ships of all time. I love it. I love the Millennium Falcon. I love the Razor Crest. I love Boba Fett's ship. I love all of it. But that is my favorite ship. I had tons of those ships when I was little. I used to fly them around at the beach all the time. And I had the Battle for Naboo game. Anytime I get to fly those things, I love them. And the fact that this is his ship, I absolutely adored it. And it was breathtaking. It gave me goosebumps seeing him go up in the air with it. And then, of course, when the two starfighter ships also come in, they're talking to him. I knew one of them was going to be Appa. Yes, I don't remember his name, but I absolutely love that actor. I actually just finished Kim's Convenience. He's great in that role. And he flies off. You see how fast this thing is. But, of course, at this point in time, I knew there was like 5 minutes left in the episode. So who's going to show up? Of course, he lands. She says, hey, someone was looking for you. And who appears? It is Fennec saying, hey, we got a duty for you. Throws him the bag of money. He goes, for Boba? Nah, this one's on the house, which, oh, man. He goes, but I gotta go do one thing before I help you. You need muscle? I gotta go visit a little friend, which that means we're seeing Grogu next week, which, yes. I will say this. I hope, and I say this because they need to start moving along the Boba Fett story a little bit more. They took their time with the first few episodes. We gotta move that along. I still have my con with that. As hyped as I am about Mandalorian and Mando and all that sorts of things, and seeing Grogu again and seeing like what's in the bag, is it a little lightsaber like they didn't put a kyber crystal in? Is it armor? I'm assuming it's probably armor. Are we going to see Luke Skywalker? Are we also going to potentially see Princess Leia or Han Solo? Those could happen. Are we going to potentially see a young Adam Driver, Kylo Ren? Like those are theories that we could possibly see because the timeline, it could have expanded. We don't know. That's what's so exciting there. But pulling it back a bit, again, I hope next episode, while we're going to go see our little friend, and it sounds like that's the next urgent thing, is she didn't say, okay, yeah. that's where I'm at, is going, okay, so definitely we're seeing him next episode, which I'm excited about. But I do hope that at least some of next episode does resemble, okay, let's move forward with the Boba Fett story. So I assume next episode will probably open up with him and Grogu interacting again, and then probably by the midpoint of that episode, we'll probably come back to Boba Fett, and then we'll kind of expand the storyline a little bit more, maybe whatever muscle he also could get, because I doubt he's just getting Mando. And I hope that's where we're getting some of this Empire Strikes Back bounty hunters. I'm still holding out hope for Cad Bane, my boy, one of my favorite bounty hunters of all time, to come up. At this point, I'm not 100% anymore. I'm more at the like 65% he's still gonna show up, but we'll see. I think he's working for the Pikes. But other than that, I absolutely love this episode. This is truly the way, guys. So make sure, again, if the Force is with you and you love talking geeky content, hit that like and subscribe button so we can keep talking every single week on a daily basis. I just love being a geek and talking movies, and this is really the best place for you guys. Leave your comment and theories as well. Maybe I'm freaking out. Maybe you hate this episode. I don't know. Let's talk about it. But of course, until next week, stay classy.